All right. So we're ready to roll,
Yes,
correct?
go
Okay,
for it.
good.
Yep,
So
go for it.
hello, everybody. Welcome tonight to CS First with Google. And we are just about to get into the hour of code, kind of a little kickoff about the hour of code. So December 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 6th to 10th next week. I think those are the dates, but it's next week anyways, is basically worldwide hour of code week. And so we'd love to know, did you know that there's an hour of code and an hour of code week? That would be great for us to know if you knew that. And this happens every year. It's getting bigger and bigger every year. And so lots of different companies and organizations have hour of code. So you might have heard us talking about recording. Dennis, remember to press record. And so we will be recording this. So if you have to jump off or you can't finish watching the end, you can come back and watch. Or if you have friends or colleagues who couldn't get here and they should see this, you can pass the recording along to them as well. So this will be recorded. We are going to always start with a land acknowledgement. And so I am coming to you from the land of two treaties. I'm located right on the border between Treaty 7 and Treaty 4 in southern Alberta. These are the traditional lands of the Siksika, the Kainai, the Piikani, the Stoney Nakoda, and the Tsuut'ina, as well as the Cree, the Sioux, and the Saulteaux bands of the Ojibwa people. And we're grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today, as well as those who've gone before us. And so as we get started here, my name is Cami Cannikins, and I'm coming to you from Medicine Hat, Alberta, which is in the southeast corner of Alberta. And Dennis is...
I'm in Winnipeg, right smack dab in the middle of the country. And I'd love to know where all of you are from too.
Yeah, and we should, as good Canadians, we should probably say what the temperature or the weather is as well. For me, it's about -20, and it was snowing
Oh,
earlier, but
ouch.
it's not. So we are coming, while you're introducing yourself in the chat, Dennis and I are coming to you from the Cobblestone Collective, and that is a group of EdTech-minded teachers and educators who work together to help other teachers and educators learn about all sorts of technology and pedagogy tools. And so today we are partnering with Google for Education. Cobblestone is a PD partner for Google, so we get to do lots of presentations on behalf of them. And today, as we get into CS First, did you know that the CS stands for computer science, if you ever wondered what that stood for? And Sandy Curry is the CS First and STEM manager for Google in Canada. And Dennis, is Sandy here with us tonight? She might pop in at some point.
Yeah, I haven't heard. I haven't seen her
Okay.
yet.
So Sandy might pop in. She sometimes does. And then big shout out as well to Karen Parker. She is like the big head of CS First globally. And so we would like to say a shout out to them because they're sponsoring our session tonight. And that's why we can bring these sessions to you for free. So we are going to just take a little pause there and say, how about you? Where are you coming from? I see we have Tanya from Mississauga. It's only -8 there, Dennis.
I know. It's
What?
great. Yep. Yep, but it's going to turn really cold in a couple days. So probably the weather from Alberta. Hey, Maggie from Montreal. I think you're new to Cobblestone. I remember seeing your name. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Oh, and Maryland's got some good northern Alberta weather. We're headed to -26 tomorrow, so -30 in that range. So yes, we've got a little bit of it feels like December, doesn't it even?
Perfect, perfect. There,
Excellent. So we've got some
Waterloo,
Ontario
Kitchener.
friends. Oh, we've got like half the country here just about. So welcome everybody. We are going to get going. And what else we would like to know about you is what do you teach? Are you a classroom teacher? What grade do you teach? Are you an administrator? What's your role? What brings you here tonight, essentially? So Tanya's grade 3-4, nice. And the other thing that would be helpful is, do you have experience? So let's do a 5-point scale. 0 is no experience with coding whatsoever. And 5 is I code with my students all the time. Maggie, my job's probably pretty similar to yours. Actually, Dennis's as well. We're both on the instructional coach and tech side a little bit.
Yep.
So we've got a whole range here. of folks.
Wow. I bet you Daryl's
Okay.
coded a bit. That's quite a handle he's got there. A little. Okay. I thought you'd be right up there with a big 5.
All right. So let's keep going. Thank you for letting us know. It's so helpful to know kind of where we're at. And so we have some 0s and 2s kind of on that lower end of the spectrum. So we're going to make sure that we try to hit everybody and not go too fast. And this is somewhat of an intro to Hour of Code and all those things. So first of all, CS first. We just said CS stands for computer science. And so CS First is a platform that helps to teach coding concepts. And it uses primarily block coding. And block coding, for those of you that are new, it's kind of like coding. It's the Lego, it's the pieces fit together, they click together. And so it's a great way to start coding and to bring coding concepts down to a way that are really visual for students to get. And so once they get those block codes, then as they move into different programs, Python or JavaScript, it's really a good starting place for them. So CS First has resources that allow students to work at their own pace. And teachers don't need to be experts. So if you're a 0 or a 1 or a 2, it doesn't matter. CS First has you. And when I first started using CS First with students quite a while ago, I didn't know much about coding. And so it was okay because CS First really just kind of led the students through. The other thing about CS First, it uses a coding program that some of you will be familiar with called Scratch. And it is actually special because there's a special CS First for Scratch. It's kind of like a Google for Scratch, which is a super safe, secure environment. And the CS First platform or dashboard allows you as a teacher to follow along and see which lessons students have done, how far they are, and share their projects and all sorts of things. We have a full alignment of CS First with the Ontario curriculum. There's some work with the Quebec curriculum as well. And we're also going to be aligning it with the new Alberta curriculum as well. And so, lots of parts for educators. Most of all, though, at the bottom, shouldn't be last. We should start with that. CS First is a lot of fun. So that is where we are going tonight. So CS First, actually, let's just jump into CS First as well. To kind of get there. So I'm just going to go to CS First. So I'm just going to Google CS First. Now tonight we kind of have a special treat for you. CS First is launching really this week with Hour of Code Week. They're launching a big tradition, I guess transition is the word. And so what we want to show you is kind of what CS First is still like for a lot of their lessons, but then we're also going to get to play and experience their brand new rollout or their reconstruction of their platform that they're kind of releasing with Hour of Code this year. And so that's kind of their big Hour of Code piece is this new platform. So here we are, we're logged into Hour of Code, and I am actually logged into Hour of Code as a student. And Dennis, I'll go ahead and just poke around here, and then we can flip over later on and show your teacher side. How about that?
Sure. Sounds great.
So whether you're logged in or not, and I just happen to be logged in, you can see this part of this without being logged in. I'm just going to click on curriculum. So again, you can do this without being logged in. And so you scroll down, and these are all of the lessons. There's a curriculum finder. So if you click on this curriculum finder, you can see it helps you decide, do you want it geared toward a specific subject area? And then it'll take you into grade level and all different areas to try to find you the units that are most specific to what you're trying to start with. So that's a nice little curriculum finder right there. So as we scroll down, there's this nice welcome lesson. So if you've never used Scratch or CS First or Scratch before, this is a nice welcome lesson. And then we keep going down. There are a number of 1-hour lessons. So there's a whole bunch. They're connected to mathematics, lots of language arts. You can see dialogue and narration, figurative language. Those are some real language arts ones. Coding Unplugged means coding without a computer. And so those are fun, especially for younger students. And so these are more short 1-hour lessons that you can also find in Hour of Code over the years. And then we get into these multi-day units. And if you've done any work with your board, with Google and CS First and Cobblestone in the last year or two, you might have done some work with us where we were working on this multi-day unit called Music and Sound. And we had a whole kind of a crate and a lesson series that went with the music and sound. So these are great multi-day units. And you can see here that there's up to 8 lessons and 8 to 12 hours. So if you have a CTF or a options course, these multi-day ones are great for students. And I'd say for sure up to, if students are new to coding, I've used these up to grade 9 at least. And if you have students in high school that are brand new to coding, these are not a bad place to start at all. And you can also see here, we've got intro level, and then we've got intermediate coding, and even some advanced coding. And so CS First takes us far along in our coding journey. So these advanced ones are quite advanced. So what does a lesson look like, you ask? Well, let's look at a popular one. Dennis, I'm thinking the Google logo is where we'll start.
Oh, that's a good one to start with. Absolutely. By the way, if anybody has any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. You'll notice that I threw in the slide deck for today. It looks like some of you are already on there. I see 4 people on there right now, so that's great. Feel free to go on there and peruse around. We're going to be following that very shortly. Cammy's going to take you through some of the old school CS First. Well, that's what it is right now, but it's they're changing it soon. So
this is currently CS First, although they're working to shift their CS First lessons into it'll look familiar but different. So I'm going to click on the Google logo. This is a really popular one. I've often, when I'm asked to help my classes or my teachers get started, we often start here because the kids know this Google logo. So you can see here, I'm going to click into the materials page. And for teachers, there is this wonderful lesson plan. So if you're new to coding, there is this whole huge page after page after page of lessons. And this is the part that I love in the traditional lesson plans. You don't need to worry because they have all the code. Like, this is the answers for the things that the kids are trying to do. So if you help the kids get their coding screen to look like this, that is really nice. Sometimes I'll print that off for my teachers who are new to coding, and you can walk around the classroom and help troubleshoot if kids are having trouble. So that is the lesson plan. So it's under materials. There's also examples if you want to show some examples to your kids. So there's lots and lots of teacher material here as well. So I'm going to come back and click on the lessons. So this is where the students would go. I don't need to be signed up to do Google Code or CS First for Google Code. The downfall with not signing up is that you can't save your lesson. So you can have your kids go in and play around, but if they get too far or do a lot without being signed in, then their lesson doesn't save. So I'm just going to click into this first one where it says code your Google logo. So I'm going to press start. Now in the traditional Google CS First, there is a video that plays. And so on this screen, if we scroll through here, I'm just going to kind of scrub through, and you can see there's a little bit of background, and then we get into step-by-step instructions for what to do. Pull this out, do this, press here, this is how it works. And then at the very end, this was the intro screen, it'll tell us what we need to do to start. And this was kind of just the intro screen. So then underneath the videos, there are often all of these options. So there's lots of directions. So students don't have to do the same thing. They can start with one thing and then do another. Let's just go into change color. So again, here's our video. And if we scrub through here to the end, they're going to show us step-by-step what to do. And then at the end of the video, we get these nice screens that say, okay, here's what you're going to do. Here's your steps. And this is what you need to make the code look like. So really nice step-by-step. All of these options would have that great same video content. So you don't need to be an expert as a teacher. Even if you've printed off your lessons, the idea is that the videos take the students through. They can pause, they can rewind, they can change this playback speed, they can speed it up, slow it down, and they can even do a little picture in picture so that they can have it over top of the next screen. So in the current Google setup, we have Google CS First in one tab, and then we click over here on a starter project, and it opens up Scratch. And so you'll see up at the top left, Scratch for CS First. So if you've used Scratch before, Scratch is probably the most popular block coding program, or maybe you've even used Scratch Junior. Those are both popular programs, but those have less security than CS First. Students can, it's a public website. There's not as much security. If students make an account, anybody can view their work. And it's, like you could be an adult and connecting with students on Scratch in their big open environment there. So what we want to just remind you of is Scratch for CS First is a real safe environment for students. And so that's one of the big things about CS First is how safe it is. So traditionally, in a traditional CS First, the majority of their lessons still, there's a tab where you have the lessons. So I watch the video, and then as a student, I go back and I can look at the Scratch page, and then I code in here. So that can be a little tricky for students, especially for younger students, jumping back and forth between those two. Dennis, we're not going to play in Scratch here. Is there anything you'd like me to add before we go on?
One of the things that I have found when students don't log in, they can download their Scratch program onto their desk or onto their computer.
Into their Chromebook, yeah.
Yeah, into their Chromebook or into the computer that work. And then if they do want to reload that, it's a little bit more effort on their part to do it, but it can be done even if they don't have an account. So just keep that in mind too.
So from that same Chromebook.
Yeah, from the same Chromebook, yeah.
Or device.
It's not ideal. It's better if they have an account, but you can download it onto your Chromebook, or if you have a device, Windows device, Mac device, it still does the same thing. Yeah.
And then I was also going to say, if the students don't log in, then you can't see their work and monitor them either. So that would be part of that. Okay.
Right. Yeah. That's the other key. That's important too. Yeah.
Okay. So that's CS First. We showed you the videos. You saw the Scratch starter projects. There's a new format. And this is the big launch for Hour of Code Week with CS First this week. So we are going to go back to, okay, I'm going to come back here. I'm going to come back to my Scratch page, and I'm going to come back up to the top. We were in curriculum. And so as you saw here, we have, I want to show you, we have Code Your Hero, we have Animate a Name, and then we popped into the Google logo. Now, at the top of the page, and this is where you're going to come with us in a moment, I'm going to click on Hour of Code. This is a new tab. If you've been here at CS First, this didn't exist a month ago. These are 3 lessons that are specific to Hour of Code this year with the new platform. And so these are the new platform, and we're going to take you through how it's new and different, and just some of the things that really make it nice for teachers who are new to coding and students who are new to coding. And then we're going to give you a chunk of time to play and explore and actually see what it's like to be a student following the instructions in this new platform and Hour of Code. All right, so there is a little note here that if you want to get started, you can. And so if you're a teacher, we would recommend that you make a class, or you log in, you make an account. You can log in with Google. You don't need to have Google. And then that you make a class which your kids will join, and we'll get to that at the end if there's time and if you're interested in that part. So right here, I can see the lesson plan. I won't go into another one. We saw that earlier. They're a little less detailed with the new platform, but we're going to go into Google logo where we were before. So I'm going to click on Start Lesson. And this is the new interface. So there's one tab, and that's it. So this first video is basically they've taken a lot of the content from the original CS First. So here's some of the original folks. And this is the original video that talks about the Google logo. And it's just a video that's an intro, not to coding, but to the Google logo. So those videos come from the previous curriculum pages that we saw. Now, the videos here, just like in the other side of CS First, you can change the playback speed. We're just going to go ahead and click Start Lesson. And so this is where CS First is new. So if you've been in CS First before, we're actually going to make sure we talk through this so that you can see what's new. Most of the lessons start with an intro page, and they're starting with the end in mind. And so what happens on these intro pages is they're going to show you some examples or an example of what your end goal is. And so there's usually a little start or a project in the screen, and then they have this big arrow, and they ask you to click the arrow. So I'm going to go ahead and click the arrow. And it whirls and gizzes and runs and does all sorts of fancy things. And so there's a couple questions. What do you notice? Is there anything you'd like to try? So it gives kids some ideas of what they might do. So kids might say, oh, I want to make my letters spin, or I want to make them hop, or I want to change colors, or I want to do some different things. So we can try the example again. You can see when I click the green flag, it talks to me. Ice cream day. So there's all sorts of things. We've got the balloon that'll eventually disappear. All right. So we've seen some samples. Now I have this. Now that I've pressed it 3 times, there's a pink arrow that says, are you sure you don't want to continue? So I can press either the pink arrow or the green arrow to get to the next screen. All right. So at least in these first ones, they give a little intro because they never know which lesson a student or a teacher will start with. If your students had done some of these already, they could just arrow through. We're going to give you a tour here. So again, this little arrow, this box at the beginning, this little pop-up is new. This is the new part. It's called the instruction drawer. So in the previous version of CS First, we were in a separate tab, and now they've given us this instruction drawer. And so this is the part where the students get all of the step-by-step. Now, you might be saying, well, I like the video because my kids, if they weren't readers, that would be helpful to them. You'll notice on each of the pages, there are playback instructions. And I have my headphones plugged in, so you won't be able to hear that, but you can see that when I click, there's a little audio button. And so it's reading the instructions aloud, and I can adjust the volume. Okay, so I'm going to go to the green arrow. Now, this is really neat. Whenever we see a pink dash, it wants us to click there. And so if we're not sure what to do next, it wants to show us. So it's like pink means click here for some help. I'm going to click on that and then watch what happens. Okay, so click on the pink and it says try out the sound. I already did that. It's going to give us one of those groovy little pink arrows that draw our attention to something. That's a great feature because there's a lot going on in our Google CS First Scratch workspace. And so those arrows help us identify things that we might have missed if we just come in and start pushing buttons. All right, so in the instruction drawer, there's one of those pink arrows or pink lines again. So it'll point to the arrow at the top. And then it says, this is how you hide the drawer. So if we're coding in our coding window, we can get rid of that. And then when we're ready to have more instructions, we can pop it up. All right. And then one last tip, but before we get started, you'll notice now in the bottom left-hand corner of my drawer that there's a little light bulb. And so I'm going to click on the pink so it shows us where that light bulb is if we missed it. And these don't appear on every screen, but this is what happens. Typically, that light bulb has a code hint behind it. So this is no longer just a code that's in the teacher's lesson plan or at the end of that video. Now you can see if students are stuck, this is what it should look like. And so that little light bulb gives a tip. And of course, there's the playback instructions that is something that you can teach your students. So if they get stuck, we can help them to become independent. Instead of waving their arms around and saying, oh, I don't know what to do next, you can cue them. Did you check the light bulb? And we can hopefully get them to have a higher level of independence as we go along. So those are the instructions. And again, once your students are familiar with those, they can go through those quickly. That is new. So now you'll see that that drawer pops up. And this is a little background information about the Google letters. So about doodlers, how every logo, every letter is a different sprite. So we're introducing some terminology now. And so we're going to click Get Coding. And you'll see here, I can move my window. I can't move it up or down, but I can move it left or right. And so now you'll see in this particular project, it's already given me my sprites. So sprites are the names for characters. And in the Google lessons, they will often preload it with sprites that you will use. And so in this case, they've given you a bunch of letters, and then you can choose from them. So now the pink button, when I click that, it takes me up to the costume tab. Okay, so do this, click on the costume tab. And you'll notice when I do that, that my instruction box stays on top. So I can go to the next step. Okay, so it says pick one of the costumes. So I'm going to just now kind of walk through here. And so it tells me step by step what to do. Click on each of the sprites. So here it shows me the sprites. So if I click on O, you'll notice underneath here it changes to O, right? So it's just given me a nice introduction about where to find those. And then if I click down here, I can easily change my sprites. So it's got a whole sprite library. And so if we didn't have that little arrow to the costumes, kids go through here all the time and miss all the other options that are available for them. Now, students can also do their own coding once they've changed them. So they're just kind of picking a different look. They can even figure out later on how to do that themselves. All right, so now we're going to just do this next little bit. It says add a special effect. And so we're going to pick a sprite. And it gives us an option here. I'm just going to go through here to the special effect. All right, this is where I want to get to. So this is the add-on screen. So we saw in the old or the previous, the current, I don't know what to call it. What's the right word that's not it's still in use, but it's phasing out. I don't want to call it a word that sounds like it's old school because it's still happening. But anyways,
the current, I think current is
we'll
a
go
good
with
word.
Current. The bulk of the current lessons still have this format. And so they have that add-on, which would be under the video. And now we get it here. And so students can pick these in any order and they can go on. And so once they code, if I pick spin, it's going to give me a set of lessons that I move through. So I'll just click this. And so you're going to code through. It again has light bulbs to show you what the code should look like. It's got those pink arrows, or those that's not an arrow, the pink underlines that say, oh, you got to go over here to get to these instructions. So I need to be on the code page. You can see here it wants me to pull out this block. So you can see it's got really nice animation that helps students go through. And then once I get to the end, after I've done all this, it takes me back to choose an add-on. So we would like to give you some time to go slow and follow the instructions and code. You can choose the Google, you can choose the animated name, or the other one is is it the hero one, Dennis?
I believe so, yep. Choose your hero or create your hero. I can't remember what it's called.
Build a superhero.
Build a superhero. There we go.
There you go. All right, so I need to find the right window. There it is. So we would like to now give you but we'll say about 10 minutes or so to go in and step by step put your student hat on and follow those instructions. What if you were a student brand new to coding? Because you'll have those. What kind of support does that look like? Even if you're an experienced coder, we would suggest that you go that step-by-step route to see how you can support your newest coders. Now, while we do that, we're going to give you 10 minutes to play. Dennis and I are going to be here. Dennis, one of us will put our screen up and we'll code alongside you. But this is also question time. So if you have a question or a I wonder or what about as we're coding for the next 10 minutes or so, please do ask us about your questions.
Yeah, Cami, Tanya had a question that I wasn't too sure how to
Okay.
answer. I thought you might know. Is there a way for teachers to add a new lesson into CS First that is not part of the list of tutorials? I don't think there is.
So,
She wanted to do a self-driving car tutorial.
oh,
And I'm
so
wondering if that's what that video game showdown that's coming up next week, would that be a part of that where you bring in?
that might be.
That's
So,
that's the only thing I can think of. Yeah.
yeah, so typically with your hour of I'm going to go back to the whole whoopsie. Let's go this one. Nope. Curriculum. I'm going to come up here. In the curriculum tab, basically these lessons are is there a self-driving car one? Some are more creative, and so if you have one like Pitch Your Passion, you can build a project, and so students could build a self-driving car based on the lessons that they have. There's not a self-driving car one that I know of, but some of them are very open to do a thing, right? So some of these more advanced ones down here, game design, for example, this will be where that video game one is in Dennis. And so there you can your students can do the things they want to do. It. Some of these lessons are very open-ended. Some, like the Google logo, are a little bit more scripted. I don't know if that's answering your question, but
yeah. And I'm not too sure if Tanya's still on there. I'm sure she is. She's probably coding right now. And the other question she had was, is CS First doing away with video lessons and replacing them with drawers in the same tab? I
yes.
have any
So Tanya,
students.
that's what we're getting at. So when we're saying is this the current or the old? To the best of my knowledge, at some point in the future, this is CS First's new. This is going to be their new way forward. I did some pilot work with them a couple months, probably close to a year ago. They've released this new version in Japan, and so I think they have a lot of their lessons ready to roll, but they're just starting with these in Hour of Code with these first three. My understanding is that they will transition to the new lessons with the pop-up drawer and the audio button. Whether they totally what's the word? Whether they totally get not grand whether they totally get rid of the current video format, I don't know about that. My guess is that eventually they'll phase that out, but I don't know that part for sure. I know that they're working to bring all the lessons up to the new drawer format, the single pane Scratch. But I'm not sure whether they're going to. There's a really good word we use in technology. What's that called when we? It's not
grandfather.
No,
phase,
grandfather's like kind of when you. It's
phase it out.
Well, yes. I'm not sure if they're going to phase it out, but there's a good word. I can't think of it. If I think of it, I'll let you know. Anyways, good question. The answer is they are moving toward the new design for everything. Whether the old one remains available, I cannot say for certain. All right, so you are coding. Dennis, if you want to pop your screen up, are you coding and should we put your screen up?
Oh no,
instead?
I haven't had a chance to code. Why don't you go ahead? I've been trying to answer questions here, so I will. Do you have your screen up? Because I can quickly zip over there if you need me to do that.
No, we can.
Okay.
We can. I'll just code along here with the new Google letters for sure.
I'm checking out the self-driving car right now. So okay.
Whether it exists.
Oh, it's in Scratch. Yeah,
There is one. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
there's one in Scratch.
Oh, in Scratch. Okay, I get
Yeah.
it. Oh, I understand now. Tanya's saying, ah, is if there's a self-driving car lesson in Scratch. Okay, I get it.
And I still don't think there probably is a way, and I believe that's what the video game showdown's all about. It looks like you can bring that in. I'm just not sure how to do that right now. That's a good question. I'm just going to play in there just a little bit just to make sure I know what I'm. See if I can do that.
Okay, so we'll give another 5 minutes or so while you're coding. Dennis, you've got an eye on the chat there.
Yep.
I'm on a single monitor today, so I either code or I I look at the chat.
No, I got the chat. Oh yeah, Canadians ordered the free kits. Unfortunately, no, they're not in
No.
Canada. They're not in Canada. They're in all sorts of these different countries all over the world except Canada.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
those stickers and the kits, they don't ship them to Canada.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Be cool to have.
Okay, I think I have to say that I have done this Coda Google logo a lot of times, and without the little pink arrow pointing me to the costumes tab, I don't know if I knew that all of these costumes were here, and I think they've been
Oh
here
yeah.
all along. So,
Yeah.
that kind of that what we don't know what we don't know. So those little hints are really
Yeah.
pretty handy.
Yeah, so if you scrub through those videos, I think because I probably wouldn't have done that. I think I did know those were there, but I'm sure I missed out on other things in those videos because you scrub through them so fast and you just go to the end, you might have missed it. So that's really neat concept. Let us know how you're doing in your coding if you have any questions. We'll try to help you out where we can. Tanya, I'm not too sure about that one. You have a lot of good questions, but unfortunately, we would need some Google experts on here that know what's happening in the world of Google in the next little while. He's talking about microbit and make code. I'm not too sure if they would.
There are actually, just a second, I think that if you go to right down in the bottom left where the extensions are, there are.
Oh,
Actually,
okay.
I'm going to go to an old version. I've got too many screens open here. In some of the versions, you can add microbits into the extensions.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
So
that.
I've done that before, and I can't. Ooh, it's been a while. So I know that when you click that little extensions, I believe that's where microbits will come up, and you can do some coding with microbits down there.
That's cool. I didn't realize that was a. I've never seen it before down there, so that's neat.
Well, it's one of those things that's so far down in the corner that we don't often click. Hey.
Yeah. So Tanya, I did actually download the self-driving car into my computer and then upload it into a CS First file in CS First. So you can do that and play with it in there. There's just no tutorials for it. So that's the thing there. So there's no tutorial. You'd have to create your. I don't know how you do that. You would have to create your own. But I think CS First is designed for more of the beginner side of things. But
Right. So I think
it doesn't mean that you can't do it. You can still download and upload that game right into CS First and work with it in there. So that's kind of neat. That's kind of a neat
which I'm
option.
thinking she's maybe done already, and then just wondered if we can get some coding in there. So
Yeah.
let's actually go to talk about the video game showdown that's coming up for CS First Week, Dennis, because
Sure.
that might be really a help to answer that question a little bit. So if we go to the Cobblestone Collective website, and Dennis will put this link in the chat for us, next week during Computer Science Week for CS First, we are offering a multi-leveled CS First. That's something that actually we haven't, this is quite a new one. We haven't done anything like this for Cobblestone, but I'm really quite excited about that. So what happens is often we get to work together with coders from Google Canada. And so Sandy Curry, the Google STEM manager, she hooks us up with Googlers. They call them Tooglers, Googlers who help teach kids. And they bring them on, and we do a live co-taught lesson. And so on, I think it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of next week, there will be lessons where you get to experience a Googler. Oh yeah, it's Tuesday to the 8th. So Tuesday to Thursday, not Wednesday to Friday. And so I'll just keep going along here. What happens is your class will get to read and read code and alter some of their favorite games. Now, these game codes are being pulled out, I think, Dennis, if I recall, they're being pulled out of scratch like the self-driving car lesson. I think that's
Right.
part of
Yeah.
that, right? Okay,
I think so. That's what I'm understanding. So this would be perfect for Tanya, I think, if she wants to get involved with that.
Now, is there, okay, there's a piece here. So I'm going to click into here. That's what I'm going to do. So they are 60 minutes, and you will, it's a pretty neat format. There's usually 2 or 3 Googlers. And so what happens is they will code during the lesson, and there'll be someone that's kind of leading the students along. And as the students are being led through a co-taught lesson, basically it's like, click here, do this. They get into the right place. They tell them, from login to, or from start to finish, there's a person that's bringing your students along, so you don't need to worry about the lesson that day. And then at the same time, the Canadian Googlers are doing their thing. So they're coding in CS First, Scratch for CS First, and throughout the lesson, they'll go from Googler to Googler and see what they're doing. They'll give some tips and tricks about code and some of the things that they're doing. These guys are these guys and gals, lots of gals, are used to working in complex coding language. So it's kind of fun to watch them work in block coding and to see how they think and the things that they do. And then at the end, they're all going to code a video game, or they're going to alter the code for the existing video game. And then at the end, there's going to be a vote. And so in each of the sessions, there'll be different Tooglers or different Googlers, and they'll all program something. And then the students that are in the audience at the end, they'll get a link, and there'll be a vote, and it'll be fun. So the lessons will be the same all 3 days, but they'll be different. So the content will be the same. It'll be the same, what's the word? Same rollout, but the Googlers will be different. And if they do have some repeat Googlers, they'll do something different. So it'll always be different, even though the lesson is the same. So if your class can't attend, that's okay. If you register, there will be a link that you'll get. So you'll get a recording and you can watch that later when it best fits your schedule. And lots of times teachers have their students do the voting and everything, and it actually feels like it's happening live. They do a really nice job of that. So the students might be voting a week later and they don't realize that it's not in real time, but it's still a lot of fun. And then, so all you really need to do is have the kids with a charged up device and the internet, and then everything else from getting to CS First and getting connected, that'll be taken care of. And so this is a question that we've often had here. Are students just playing video games? And it's no, they're not just playing video games. They're coding. They're learning how to debug, how to use some coding programming. And this one probably will be for, there's typically like a kind of some intro level coding going on, and then someone that's doing some fancier coding along the way. And so usually these lessons are aimed for a variety of coders, because we know that in our classes, we always have a variety of kids who are new or who are slower to pick up and tend to get frustrated with coding, to those that are often and running. And so there you can see we've got kind of a variety of time frames from 1 Eastern to 11 Eastern to 10 Eastern.
And Tanya said she signed up for Wednesday.
Way to go, excellent. Tanya. Okay.
Awesome.
So, Dennis, I'm not doing any of those lessons. Maybe you are, so you might see us back. You might see Dennis back next week.
I am not in those lessons.
You're not doing those either. Okay.
Yep. I know that for a fact.
But the lessons with the Googlers are a lot of fun, and it's so fascinating because your kids get to see people who code for a living using CS First and interacting with real life coders. So that is an exciting thing that happens. Now, one of the things that we haven't shown today that was kind of, we weren't sure, the big deal was the new format of the new lesson with the new box, which, okay, sorry, I have to close my tabs here. I've got, I think it's this one. Woo. There it is. There's my drawer, right? Not a box, it's a drawer. I got to get my terminology right. It's new. We would love to hear your feedback. We're a fairly small enough group today that if you would like to pop your mic on or let us know in the chat, we'd love to know what you think of the new format. If you've used the old one, are you excited about it? Are you disappointed about it? Do you have questions? Would you like us to show how to get your teachers or your students connected to you within a CS First classroom? That's where the power really is, because you can see step by step what your kids have done, what they're doing. You get a nice dashboard and you can see how far along they are. We have a few minutes. We can show that if you would like. So do you want to know that, or do you want to just talk about the new format? We are curious. It shows how to use the activities if we are not signed up. Yes. So really,
that's through curriculum, just going through curriculum. And
yeah.
Okay.
I think we're still on my screen, aren't we, Dennis, there?
Yep.
Okay. So basically you go to, and I'll sign out here. Actually, it won't matter. If I was signed out or not, it would be the same. You go to CS First, Hour of Code, and you'll get a screen that looks exactly like this. What you won't have is, it'll just say sign in over here instead of student or teacher. And then it will say Hour of Curriculum or Hour of Code. You can do either. So remember, the Hour of Code are the 3 lessons that they have converted into the new platform. The rest under curriculum, you just come down here. And so your students you notice it says view. If you're logged in as a teacher, it will have a button. I think the button says assign. And so that assign button, if you're logged as a teacher, means that you're choosing to add that to the classroom so that students will be able to choose it. But otherwise, without logging in, your students or you, just like we did tonight, you can come to view. And then as soon as you do that, it launches the lesson and they can press start. Here's the videos. And then eventually there will be, you want to get to the place where it says starter project. When you click the starter project, that takes you into the Scratch window. And so then you'd have side-by-side instructions and Scratch area. Did I answer your question, Maggie? Is that?
And then from there, you can save your project, and like we said before, is put it on your computer, download it on your Chromebook if you got a Chromebook, or your Windows device or a Mac.
Right,
I think it even works on iPads too, if I remember correctly. You can download it on an iPad.
Yeah, so it'll just save to your whatever, your hard drive or your Google Drive or whatever you have available to save. And then if you want to run it next time, you can go from there and you can, you can change languages. Yeah, so the students can save their projects. Dennis, did you want to?
Oh, looks like we lost her. She'll be back. This happens from time to time. She's got so many tabs. Oh, yeah, that was fast. Wow. Oh, you're muted, Cami.
I purposely pin my tab so that doesn't happen. So I'm not sure how that, like, that's not supposed to happen. Okay, Dennis, I was going to say, do you want to pop over,
Sure.
especially now that I'm kicked out? Do you want to pop over and show the teacher dashboard?
Sure, I can do that.
And what
really
that
quick.
looks like?
Sure. Let me just get a tab open here for you. And I think we got the right one. We want to go on. Just going to share my screen. Give me a second here. I got lots of screens too.
Well, Dennis is getting there. In January, we have another session, a set of sessions with the Googlers again that are a real kickoff and kind of step by step. If you're new to coding and you want to really get your kids into coding, there will be a sessions in January where we take you through step by step of how to do what Dennis is going to show you really quickly today. Hey.
All right, so I'm logged in as a teacher. You can see it up here in the top right corner. And actually, I should go back to my dashboard because I'm actually in one of the projects already. I don't want to do that just yet. So this is what it would look like. So I did download some. If you do use Google Classroom, you can actually work through Google and have that set up. You have to talk to your technicians, your IT department to open that up for you if you are a Google school division. But this particular one that I have here called Mr. Weeb, that one is a non-Google type setup. So if I click in there, I can see that I've already added current units or animated name. I don't know if you can see that very well. I'm going to zoom in on that. I have two units in there, animated name and music and sound. So if I click on one of those, I can go to animated name and I can see how my students are doing there. And actually, I want to go back one. Let me try that one more time. I'll go back one before I do that.
Or if you even from your dashboard, click on the tile, Dennis, because I noticed something when you first went in there that I was in one of the tabs that I was in. Okay.
Yeah, this is what I was looking for. I clicked on the wrong tab. Sorry, this is the class that I was looking for. And then I can see the people in my class. You notice I don't only have that many people in there, but this is Cami right here. She's 294. I can take a look and see what she's doing and see what kind of
but Dennis, do you see here that that's the one that there's the Google one that I just made while I was
that's real time. Yeah, that's real time. You actually just opened this one up, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was the characterization one that I clicked on when I was showing Maggie how to get there. So because I was logged in and connected to Dennis's class, you can see that you have a real footprint of what the students are doing.
And this is actually her screen right now, what she was working on. You can see all the things that she's been putting in there, where she is in the,
Oh,
what do we call it?
look
The
at
drawer?
the drawer.
The
Okay, so this is
drawer?
new. I love this, and I haven't seen this. Um, so that's interesting. So the kids, I didn't realize I hadn't seen this from the teacher side with the student connected, but their progress is right there on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And I can go through here and do a view only. This is view only right now, but because it says view only up here, I can make a copy of it if I wanted to, but I will not. Yeah, so that's a neat new feature that they didn't have before. That's pretty cool. So if I go back, if I remember, Cami, if I go back into my classes here, I'm gonna go back to my dashboard. In the units, if I go into animated name, I was under the impression that I could see all the different units in here. Maybe that's more of the, maybe those are the multi-lesson ones. I'm trying to think where all the lessons are lined up and you can see how they're doing in each lesson. I thought that was in this
oh,
area
yeah,
here.
no, it should be. You need to go into, if you click on people, the people tab. So go down,
Okay.
so right down on the purple one, if you just go down, you can see the whole list of people.
Oh, here they are. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see.
Oh, and so, yeah, and if you click on, yeah, so there's all your kids. Tanya asks, is there a load from computer? Yes, I'm signed in as a student, and under the file, I have a load from my computer, and so that takes me to my desktop. I've got my Google Drive and my OneDrive linked, and so as long as your IT department would have access for that, I'm logged in with the student currently, and that load from my computer works for me. So sometimes different IT departments have that set up differently, but um, it is possible for a student account to have the load from computer access. I think that's what you're asking, Tanya. Am I answering your question correctly? So yes, unless your IT department has done something that would override that. Okay, good. All right. Well, Dennis, we are pretty much at the end there. Do you have our slide deck handy, or should we pop back over to mine?
I think I have it handy here. Yes. I don't know if anybody saw that, but I did find the area where I think they changed that. Right here, activities viewed. So if I click on animated name, I can see my students. We got a few minutes left. I can see
Oh, there it is.
the progress of my students. That's what I was looking for. So you can see them when you load them in. You can see if you did assign a unit, you can see where they're at in those three particular lessons. So that's what I wanted to share with you there. But I can flip over to the hour to code. Sure. Let me just.
So maybe our end screen there so we can see the help website and get our resources there again. So again, Sandy Curry will be with on Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. She'll be with the Googlers, and you'll have a lot of fun if you register your students for that class. And then you can wrap us up there, Dennis.
Yep. I'm just going to put it full screen. So it looks a little bit better than having it. There we go. And there we go. On behalf of Cami, myself, and Cobblestone, thank you so much for joining us today. And I know there's a big range of coders in here, but hopefully you got something out of it today. And as you can see there, there's a feedback form. Feel free to go in there and put in that feedback form. And then, of course, if you have any support or any questions and you need some support, feel free to go to help@cobblestonecollective.ca. There's always somebody there to help you out. So thank you so much for joining us. And thanks, Cami, for joining me. And have a good evening, everyone.
All right, I'll just pop that feedback form in the chat real quick there. That should do it. That's how it's helpful. Yeah, so hopefully you enjoyed exploring the new platform. We expect that there will be more and more coding, CS first scratch coding pieces moving into that all along. It's their big launch in CS first. So we hope that you and your students do lots of computer coding, whatever program you're in next week. Or, well, not just next week, always. Coding is fun.